All right, we are live. The Jag Bros are here.
How y'all
Yes,
doing?
our first and only maybe live show we ever do.
Depends on the reviews.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Big day today with free agency moves going all over the place. We're excited to break it down, give you some live reactions. Maybe after a week or two, when we record an official podcast, we will have changed our views. We see Joey down there in the bottom with the Jags logo in the background, Jack wearing his team teal. And I am repping for maybe the last time ever my Trevor Lawrence Calvin Ridley t-shirt that my wife got me for Christmas. Obviously, with some of the recent moves, it seems extremely unlikely that we will be re-signing Calvin Ridley, and so this shirt may have be short-lived, and unfortunately, never got to see the postseason run that we were all hoping for.
I don't know if
Maybe,
it's
maybe not.
that short-lived. Like
What one season?
The
Ridley
one
All right,
is
well
season that
no,
let
but
let's recap the moves and then we're gonna break it down. So I think as you watch it live too, you can comment as well. We'll say this throughout, but make sure you're commenting your thoughts too. But here are the moves, and then y'all take it where you want to go. I'm guessing we're gonna go Gabe Davis, but here's the move. So yesterday, Sunday, we make the trade for Mac Jones, a surprising move. Cost us a 6th-round pick, almost certainly, not to stir the pot for backup quarterback spot. We signed Gabe Davis today for 3 years, $39 million with $50 million peak if he hits all of his incentives. Also signed Darnell Savage Jr., great name, safety out of the Packers. And also signed Will Lutz for 3 years, the kicker from the Broncos. Also signed the center from the Buffalo Bills, Mitch Morse, for 2 years, around $10 million. And so Jaguars are busy. Where do y'all want to start?
uh we'll go ahead, I guess, start with Gabe Davis. Everyone's been talking about wide receivers. Jag fans seem to want every single wide receiver that's available. But we got Gabe Davis, and I'm excited about it. What about y'all?
Personally, I'm a little underwhelmed. Here's the thing: Gabe Davis is a Florida boy. He has some ties to the First Coast too, I believe. But look, Buffalo has a better quarterback. Buffalo has a better offensive coordinator. Buffalo has had a better offensive system, and they have not really been able to figure out how to unlock Gabe Davis. I think he's been one of the most streaky players in the NFL. I know a lot of fantasy sites and stuff like that talk about his predictability as being an F because the amount of games that he could have 2 touchdowns and 150 yards followed by a completely game with 0 catches is not exactly what you want to see. So if you're replacing, you're think about this, you're essentially replacing Calvin Ridley with a guy who is a wild card at best, in my opinion. Now, look, my opinions may change after a little while, but Joey, what do you think? What are the fans on Twitter and the rest of Jag Media think?
Well, I really like this pick because we needed someone who can take the top off the defense, go deep. And Calvin Ridley wasn't really that for us. He was more of a steady Eddie, almost like a Kirk. Like we already have someone who's super steady, who Trevor can rely on 3rd down and 5 and everything like that. We need someone who's going to catch that 45-yard bomb, who's going to be the thing that keeps safeties and corners back and scares defenses that we can go really deep on. And that's exactly what Gabe Davis does. He's a deep threat. Like that's all he really is. We're not looking for someone who's going to be super consistent and just catch medium range, short range balls. This is what almost I think he's more replacing Zay Jones than he is replacing Ridley. We're still kind of with Ridley, I see we're still going after him. I think we're more looking to replace Zay Jones with Gabe Davis. And as long as Ridley doesn't get an absolute giant offer, I think he's back because we still really want Ridley.
Well, there's no breaking news here. Last I saw, Zay Jones is still on the team, so I'm not really sure what do you mean by replacing Zay Jones.
So there is breaking news that the Jaguars are still pursuing Ridley. So that's the big news. Now, he is probably wide receiver number 1 on the market. Again, this is great. I love this day. There's so many moves happening. T. Higgins is asking for a trade right now. what's face Michael Pittman for the Colts signs a deal. So Ridley could be free agent number one. I think the feeling is if we get him for a good deal, let's roll. But if he goes for a crazy number, he's out. Like that seems to be the Jaguars. And we get to at this point say for sure we keep that second round pick for Ridley. So it's potential. I think there's no question we need another wide receiver, whether it's Ridley, whether it's draft, Gabe Davis and Christian Kirk and Parker Washington and maybe or maybe not Zay Jones. That's not really a scary wide receiver room right now.
I mean, it's better than what we had in 2022 with Marvin Jones Jr. I think Gabe Davis is better than him. So, like, I don't really think it's that bad, even if we roll with Zay Jones, Kirk, and Gabe Davis. But I do think that we would either go draft, we'd get one more wide receiver, whether that is signing another person or drafting another person.
I think you have to because you're spending a lot of money on some of these wide receivers too. You need to have some level of not exit strategy, but some sort of long-term strategy where you're hitting actually on a wide receiver. So maybe this probably takes off wide receiver one in the first round, but a wide receiver in the third round that hopefully you're hitting on a Tank Dell type of guy. That I think is probably more the direction the Jaguars would go.
Keep your soul.
And I love also that we're reuniting Gabe Davis with the wide receiver coach that we got from the Buffalo Bills, Chad Hall. He's had a huge voice apparently this offseason on what the wide receiver room needs to look like. And going out and getting Gabe Davis, he can have a really good plan for him because he's coached with him before. It seems like we're getting people that are connected with our coaches. So talking about now Mitch Morse, who was connected with Doug Peterson when he was with the Chiefs. We seem to be getting a lot of people who have worked together in the past.
Yeah. And I don't love all these moves, but I do appreciate that we're making moves. Because last year we sat on our hands a lot, and it is clear from the jump, which I was not expecting us to be this heavily involved this early, as NFL tampering period just started, but we're making moves left and right. And I don't think the Jaguars are done. Like I think we're gonna keep making moves, probably on defense, because I'm trying to think. I guess we got the safety, but really most of these have been offensive moves right now.
Yeah, there are three major moves that we've done or not done, I would say, within the offensive line. Mitch Morse being the probably the biggest one. Obviously, a clear need, replacing the production or lack thereof of Luke Fortner in what he did last year. So at center, we got Mitch Morse from the Buffalo Bills. He does have some experience with Doug Peterson, as you guys said. We re-signed Ezra Cleveland. So I know there were some concerns. Well, are we going to do that? Was that just a rental for this year, which I think is a brilliant move. He got hurt relatively soon after coming to Jacksonville. But what we saw is you saw some consistent play at guard. And that's, I think at this point, Jacksonville fans would take just don't suck on offensive line and you just be average.
1,000,000%. Yeah.
And so that was good. And then we re-signed Blake Hance to a somewhat friendly deal. And I think we let some of our other guys walk. Tyler Shatley, who's older. I think that might have been the only other one that was an unrestricted free agent at this time. So yeah, I like all those moves. I can't tell you enough about this center to know how great he is, but he's not going to be the 32nd best center in the NFL.
No, yeah. He's a straight solid center. Like he's not going to be top 10. He's not going all pro or Pro Bowl, but he's very solid. He was a captain on the Bills team, so you know that he's well respected. He's been doing it for a while, and it's only a 2-year deal, so obviously they still have some faith in Luke Fortner, but now he can at least rest, get bigger, get stronger, and possibly come back, and that could be what we do in the long run. But I
do
love
you think that's going to happen, Joey? I know you've been a big Fortner fan. Die hard.
I don't want to be negative and be like he absolutely can't do it, because from what I've heard when we drafted him, people thought he was going to be a really good pro guy. He is like smart and makes good calls. I think he's just weak
So
and
you're saying
kind of
there's a chance.
undersized. But yeah, I mean, if he's willing to put in the work, there is a chance
Yeah, he's
that
got
it
bulk up.
could happen. But
This is a stopgap, right? Whether it is Fortner actually developing
Correct.
or you end up drafting a center in the third or fourth round that you could get similar production or better production from Morse in the future. This is just, hey, let's plug a hole. Let's not make a long-term commitment because he's not somebody that we want to build our offensive line for the next 5 to 6 years around, but somebody that's plugging a hole.
yeah, it's the same thing with the restructuring of Sheriff. It's obvious they, I guess, didn't think they could get a guard early on, and then the guards kind of later on didn't impress them. So they're like, let's restructure Sheriff, keep him here. He's does okay. Like I don't hate him completely. He's not what he used to be,
High
but
praise.
he feels the need, and they were able to restructure it where we saved $4 to $5 million
Yeah.
off of his cap hit. So another stopgap right there where we're going to have to replace that in a year or so, or maybe Cooper Hodges becomes someone that we can actually rely on, but we have no idea how good he is. He's got no play time, but I know a lot of people love him, so that could be a possibility too, that this is just for another year development for Cooper Hodges.
Yeah, the Sheriff move I actually really like. Number one, you save money. So you created, as you said, Joey, $5 million in cap space. And so I think it's 3 years, but you can void the contract at any point. So I think what the Jaguars do here is you draft an interior offensive lineman, second, third, maybe as late as fourth round, and you let him see how he plays this year or potentially next year with the thought of, hey, he can take Sheriff's spot and it doesn't cost us anything at that point. So I like that deal, but I want to go back to Gabe Davis because that is the biggest news, I would say. And so here's what I'm going to give y'all a couple things I pulled up on him. Yeah, I have him on my fantasy dynasty team, and that was unfortunate. But hey, you never know. Maybe new start, new city, warmer weather. But so he played ball, and then I want y'all to give us a grade. So I know we haven't dug in deep, but just like your first initial grade, and we can change it later on the pod. But like, hey, what's your initial first reaction grade? But so he was a fourth round pick in 2020 out of UCF, as you said, JT. So he's a Florida guy. He's reconnected with his wide receiver coach, as you said, Joey. He's got 4.5, low 4.5 speed. So he's not crazy speed, 35-inch vertical. And essentially he's been averaging about 40 to 45 receptions a year, 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. And what I didn't expect, because he will have several games with 0 catches in the game, he's almost missed no games. So in 4 seasons for the Bills, I think he's missed either 2 or 3 games total in his career. So now he's missed some games with no performance on the field, but at least from a being on the field, especially if you are to compare him to Zay Jones or even Ridley, who's missed a ton of time on the field in the past. So give me your initial grade for the Jaguars signing Gabe Davis, 3 years, $39 million.
I give it a really solid B plus to A minus. I'm flip-flopping on it right now. I like that he wasn't that expensive. He is a Florida guy. He is a great red zone target, gets a lot of touchdowns, can be a really big playmaker with deep passes. And what is really going to tell me the difference is what's his chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. And can they build something that he never really built with Calvin Ridley? I feel like it never seemed like they were ever that on page like he does with Zay Jones or Kirk. So if he could really get on page with Trevor and can get some touchdowns, and then Chad Hall, the wide receiver coach, can draw up some plays with him, I think this could be a really good deal.
I mean,
JT's gonna be lower. I know
yeah,
that.
I mean, C plus B minus. He's a guy. To me, I think he's a little bit fool's gold, right? Like you say, he averages like 45, but I think he had 4 or 5 games last year. He had 1, 2, 3, 4 games where he had zero receptions.
Yep.
Off of a few targets. I mean, he's averaging 3 or 4 targets a game for the most part, outside of random spike weeks where he gets 12. And so what exactly is going on? Jack, you probably followed him closer with your with him being on your fantasy team like that.
But
But
you're comparing him to when he was
he's
on the
full.
Bills. Like
He
when
had
we had
the better
Kirk.
offensive team with a better quarterback, a better offensive
No, Josh
schemes.
Allen is
Yes.
not a better quarterback. They're very comparable.
What are you
Whoa.
talking?
Both
Hot
really
take
big
over
You
here.
guys. They
never
both
know
throw
what
it
you're
deep.
gonna
They
hear on the
both throw a lot
live.
of interceptions. They're very similar
See,
quarterbacks.
these are the type of dumb
So
takes
you
that
got to
we could
push at
edit out
quarterback.
before.
I think we have a better head coach. I think we'll be calling better plays. And
With
I
who?
also
Press
think,
Taylor?
look
What
what
in
Kirk
his
did. Look
entire
what Kirk did when he was at Arizona. Everyone was like, he does
Kirk
not
did
deserve all
He
great
this
at
didn't
money.
have
Arizona. They
Like
just
a
couldn't
third
afford
wide
him.
receiver at best. Y'all need to shut up because y'all are wrong on Gabe Davis. Give him a shot, and he's going to
I
prove
didn't say
wrong.
anything on Gabe Davis.
JT,
He's
he
fool's
he won't
gold.
let me talk. You gotta
Fool's
respect.
gold. I'm shocked JT gave him a C plus B minus. That was higher. I will actually literally shoot the middle right here. I would say a B because what I like about the trade is he has something that most of our wide receivers don't have, which is height and weight. Like I feel like all of our guys are typically shorter, skinnier. Like Christian Kirk is not a big dude. Calvin Ridley, if he does come back, has height, but he weighed in, I think, like 190 at the combine. I mean, he looked like he was playing 180 a lot of the season. And then Parker Washington's 5'10, 5'11. Jamal Agnew's not that big. So I'm like, hey, finally a tall wide receiver that hopefully we're going to throw it to because Tim Jones, who's the other guy? Elijah Cooks, we obviously never targeted. So that's the good. And he is a deep threat, which most of our Jaguars guys are not as well. So Trevor does have the arm strength. I'm not saying he's better than Josh Allen. That's a bold take right
very
there.
bold take.
I said they were comparable.
They are not
push. I never said
comparable.
that
Like Josh Allen is clearly a step or two above at this point, and Press
he throws
Taylor's
just as
offensive
many
schemes
interceptions.
have
He has not won a Super Bowl or anything. He can't beat Patrick Mahomes. Trevor Lawrence can't beat Patrick Mahomes. Like they both are very similar.
Yeah, so is everybody else, I guess. I mean, yeah, I mean, we should be putting Trevor Lawrence right up there in the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the NFL, like Josh Allen is. Then is that fair, Joey? Because we just ranked him last episode at
Trevor
15,
Lawrence right under Josh Allen. They're very comparable. You act like there's this huge gap.
And oh, by the way,
well,
Christian Kirk had almost 1,000 yards with Arizona his final year, was continually getting better in a relatively crowded room at the time. The only reason why people were saying, why did you get Christian Kirk is because we paid too much for him, not because he didn't have production. He clearly had production at Arizona year over year in a not as sophisticated offensive scheme. And so like his projection made sense to me. You could argue about that we overpaid him or not. Gabe Davis, I mean, look, he's relatively inexpensive, but I think he's ultimately going to be fool's gold. And a guy that, I mean, I can't think of a comp that Jaguars have had horrible receivers, so I could probably just throw a name out there. But
he's better than them.
Yeah, he's better than most of the Jaguar receivers we've ever had. But like, I don't. Here you go, Joey. Over under 650 yards and
Over
5 touchdowns. Over under 900 yards and 5 or 6. Over under 5.5 touchdowns and 900 yards.
over on the touchdowns. I probably have him more in the 850 yards, like just under 900 yards.
That is what he does. I mean, he's never been over 900 yards, which is interesting. He's a better touchdown threat. Here's what, like, it depends on what we think. If we're expecting Gabe Davis to come in here as a wide receiver 1,
yeah, that's not
nuts.
what he is. That's not what I'm saying.
But like, I don't know.
As a starter, as your wide receiver 2 starting,
like $5 million. That's not number 1 wide receiver.
No, 13 million. And it's not wide receiver 1. Million. Yeah,
but we would, if you think our lineup will be Gabe Davis, Zay Jones, and Christian Kirk in the middle, if you think that's what we're rolling out with, I mean, those numbers, I guess, are theoretically possible at that point, just because you only have so many people to throw the ball to. But like boy, that's
it honestly makes a very well-rounded attack. You have a deep threat in Gabe Davis. You have a really great slot corner for against man to get you in the middle to open that up with Kirk. And then you have Zay Jones, who can be your third down guy. He's pretty consistent. He has very good chemistry with Trevor. He trusts him. He goes to him. Like, it's a very comparable thing. And then you also have Evan Ingram on top of that, who is also a consistent guy who's going to be around the shorter 5 yards, maybe 10 yards. And
Ingram
it's just a
going
very
off.
comparable offense where Ridley didn't fit really in the offense because he was very much
We
like Kirk
underutilized
and
him.
Jones together. You didn't. He
He's
wasn't a deep guy. He wasn't going to throw it 45 yards to Ridley. You do with Gabe Davis. It just changes what you're going to do, so that way you're a well-rounded offense. We're tired of having only slot guys. Ridley says he's 6 foot. He was under 6 foot. He was not as tall as people said. He was maybe 175. He was a stick out there. He was getting shoved constantly. That's why he always got those flags, is because they poke him and he'd fall over because he's so tiny. Like, it's much better now that we have a tall guy who can go deep and has some weight on him. So that way Trevor has someone who he can show off that arm strength and actually be better than Josh Allen.
So here's a big question. What do y'all think? Is this our wide receiver room? Are we done? Like, are we going, like, how heavy do we pursue Ridley, or do we go another free agent?
You don't
do we
pursue
go?
Ridley. You're not getting another free agent. Like, you'll get
you
a
go
mid-round.
draft.
You go mid-round draft pick to add depth to replace the invisible ghost of Tim Jones and go from there.
Well, we'll still go after
Tim
Ridley.
Jones.
It'll just depend on how much it is. I promise you that the Jags have a number on their mind where they're like, as long as no one comes above this, then we get Ridley. If not, then we're not going to get him. And then we go and draft one in the third round, who I hope
don't
it's Roman
disagree
Wilson.
with you. I'm just saying that number is going to be so significantly different than what Ridley wants, considering he's still on his rookie deal. This is probably his only chance to get a true bag. And as Jack brought up at the beginning, there's not a whole lot of other names out there. And so, like, it'd behoove of Ridley to actually play the field.
Yeah, but I mean, it's what is on the market. Maybe if the market's not right for him because he didn't show enough last year, he does a 1-year deal with us for like 18 million, so he can prove himself again, so he can go get that big bag. I'm not saying that we're going to sign him to a super long-term deal. We may still go get him for a year or two. Like, it just depends on what the market is. Because this is such a heavy draft class, maybe a lot of people aren't willing to spend that much money. I mean, Mike Evans, one of a possible Hall of Famer wide receiver, took a deal before even going to the market, which a lot of people thought he'd get a lot more on the open market. So obviously the open market may not be as rich as people are thinking, because everyone wants to draft a wide receiver this year.
What did he do?
I think about two years, 50
It was
mil.
like 20 million.
25 mil. 25 mil a year.
Yeah, but everyone
25 mil a year.
No. It was 20 mil.
2 year 50. But
so 25 mil. Yeah, that's not that good, Joey.
No,
it
wasn't 25 million. That was the first report. Look it back up.
Okay, well, prove it live. This is live.
I'm looking it up now.
All right. But while y'all think about this, I have a question for y'all, because this has been interesting. Number one, we've gone really heavy in free agent wide receiver. So you look at the last 3 years, each year we've done a big move. So we did Christian Kirk 2022, Calvin Ridley trade 2023, and now Gabe Davis 2024. In Balky's era, do you know who the highest drafted wide receiver has been?
Oh boy. Parker Washington, 6th round.
Parker Washington, 6th round.
Yeah, I don't think
we've done
nothing.
We did him, and then we did I think it was Jalen Camp in his first year in the 6th round. Yeah, he had one career catch. So it's just crazy to me that we've not drafted at all at wide receiver. I know we have, like, pre-Balky, a really bad history, but as you look at this draft class, I mean, everyone, Kuiper is saying this is the best wide receiver class in the history of the NFL draft. So if we don't get anybody in the first 3-4 rounds at wide receiver, I'm gonna be like, oh man, not again.
If Ridley walks, I guarantee we're getting a wide receiver. I don't know where, but we'll draft one. It could be 3rd, 4th. It's probably, we still have those 2 4ths. That's where I think we'll probably use it.
On a reported, it's reported. So there's not a whole lot of information on the Ridley deal, but from what I can see,
Oh, you mean Evans?
sorry, Evans deal. I've seen things that say 2-year 52, and I've seen things that say 2-year 41. So I don't know. And the ones that
Either
are
way, it's
newer,
still
when it
good.
first came out, it was 25 million, and then it came out that actually that's with like a bunch of incentives and everything like that. Where it's right now, it's about 20 million, and then if he hits all his incentives, then he gets 25 million.
either way, Mike Evans is a pretty good comp for Ridley, and we're not spending $20 million on another wide receiver.
Well,
So
I know, but a
so-
lot of people
so
thought
even
his
if it is
open
on the
market
lower
would be
end.
bigger. I think they're wanting 17, 18 for Ridley. That's where their probably hard line is. At least that's where my hard line
I can't see them allocating another $15+ million to the wide receiver room when you're already overpaying Christian Kirk. You're already paying Zay Jones a decent amount. I mean, the only way you do that is you let Zay Jones walk.
Oh, 100%.
Oh yeah,
which is still
if we get
which is still
Ridley,
possible, I
then Zay
guess.
Jones and Agnew will be gone.
Which brings
Sorry,
up a
JT.
good thing that we can talk about too. So some of the free agents that we have not signed, and at this point, I would guess we're probably not going to sign most of them. Calvin Ridley, obviously, Brandon McManus, the kicker, no shock there. Plus, we've just re-signed or we've signed a kicker.
Lutz.
We're letting
Never
Trey
seen
Herndon
Doug
walk.
Pearson hate a guy more than Brandon McManus.
True. Trey Herndon, we're gonna let walk. It seems like we're gonna let Jamal Agnew walk, which you guys were saying Parker Washington gets similar production. I would disagree, but I get for the price tag why you take that risk. Chase Hunt, obviously, we're letting walk, our former first round pick there.
Bring him back,
Smoot, we're
baby.
letting walk. Blackson, we're letting walk. Shatley, we're letting walk, and then a few others. So not a whole lot of names that outside of the Calvin Ridley name that you're like, oh no, we need to keep them.
Yeah,
That's the thing,
there's
like,
a lot of
I-
depth guys more that left.
Yes.
I saw we also just lost Chad Johnson, the special
Ocho
teams guru.
Cinco?
No.
Ocho Cinco's
The
gone?
linebacker that was a special
No, I know
teams
what you mean.
guy who
Yeah,
I-
someone put on there a special teams
Caleb
ace.
Johnson.
Yes,
Johnson.
Caleb Johnson. Someone tweeted special teams ace. I'm like, do you even watch the Jaguars? What even is a special teams ace?
It's not
know.
him. It's
They-
Kasim Osgood back in the day for
Yeah.
older Jaguar fans. He is not a special teams ace.
No.
The other big news happened yesterday with the Jaguars
Yep.
trading their 6th-round pick for Mac Jones.
Bring him back to Duval.
What? I mean,
Bulls
you're
high
right, Joe.
school.
He's a Bulls guy. He's from First Coast for sure. Thoughts, reactions on that one?
Yeah, I think it's actually a really good backup idea. I think he's better than CJ Beathard.
Name
think-
something that the Jaguars did that you didn't think was a really good idea. Because right now you seem to be drinking the teal Kool-Aid.
He's loving it.
I think that Balky's actually doing a good job right now for the offseason.
How much he paying you,
Joey?
Joey?
Cut
How much he
that
paying
little
you?
quote, and then we'll replay that here in 6 months.
Well, it seems like he's learned from his mistakes. They realized that the not doing any moves was a bad idea. He's making a lot of moves. They actually realized that center was a problem. They went out and got a center. They realized that what else did they realize?
Safety. They got rid of Jenkins.
Yeah, they got rid of Jenkins. They're cutting people that don't fit the scheme. Darius Williams did a really good job, but he just doesn't fit the scheme, I think. So I do like the moves that are being made, that they're actually willing to do things. I don't know if I agree with the keeping Cam Robinson. I think that's a huge cap hit for an average tackle. I don't agree with not getting Josh Allen's deal done. I would have gotten it done by now, so that way we can not have that cap hit huge this year. We can push that money off. But I mean, there are things I don't agree with, but the things that we've added, I do agree with. The things that we haven't done, I don't agree with. So I don't agree with keeping Cam, and I don't agree with not getting Josh Allen done.
So we obviously let Jenkins walk, right? Our starting safety. We let Williams walk, our starting corner, our best corner. But by the way,
our best corner. Yes.
Yes. And we let Fadakasi walk, which is probably additional.
Oh, that's a huge
loss.
That's
a great thing. And he's
hold
going
on.
to the
That's
Texans,
not my. Let me get to my point here.
Okay.
What did we resign, or what did we get free agency defensively so far?
The safety.
Well, let's talk
Uh,
about
yeah,
this.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Because
We just let
they're
3 of our
obviously we
starters on a
drafted
bad
offense
defense
last
walk.
year. We're drafting defense this year. We have a new defensive coordinator. He wants new young people that he can bring in and coach. The free agent people are for the offense because we're not going to be drafting offense, maybe a wide receiver. That's it. I don't think we're drafting offensive line. I don't think we're drafting tight end or running back or anything like that. The offense is done. We're going to do the offense with free agent and then drafting defense. We're going to draft a corner first round. We're going to draft probably our third edge rusher. We're going to draft a defensive lineman. He wants people with this new coach that are brand new, that he can develop, that he can bring into this organization. He doesn't want free agents with the new guy. He wants something that he can grow and do a long term here in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, if Darnell Savage can play up to his name, that'd be pretty awesome. So he's the safety from the Packers. He actually just tweeted out Duval, so hopefully that means he's ready to roll. But yeah, I mean, I just want to zero in. I'm sure we'll talk more on the podcast about it, and hope y'all follow us on the Jag Bros podcast on all platforms. But I hated the Darius Williams move. Like, that was one I didn't get at all. Like Rayshon Jenkins, that made sense. He missed every tackle under the sun, it felt like, and has underperformed the last couple of years. But Darius Williams was our best corner. I mean, now we're like all in on Campbell better come back at 110% and better be a superstar, because Darius Williams had, I think it was either third or fourth most pass deflections in the league. He can play man. He played man plenty. And he had 4 interceptions for us. And it's not like he was 35 years old. I think he was 28 or 29 years old. I mean,
No, he's still young. But he's
He-
definitely more of a zone guy, and he's not that fast, and he's not that tall. And I would imagine that they went to Ryan
So Buster
Nielsen
Brown.
and was like, "Do you like?" They're not going to cut him, and then Ryan Nielsen's like, "Whoa, wait, like, why did you cut him?" Like they
I
obviously went to
agree.
him
I
and
agree
asked him,
100.
"Do you want him?"
I agree 100% with what you said, Joey. He's not a perfect scheme fit for what we want to do. I still think they did Caldwell so dirty. We made 0 moves in free agency and 0 moves in the draft. And then we've continually look, maybe you're right, Joey. Maybe we go all rookies and we have a half our defense is rookies. Because, oh, by the way, we're also going to be replacing Trey Herndon, who is a starter, which I forgot to mention. So that's 4 starters on the team. And look, some of them had varying degrees of success. I get that, but like you're going to be you're replacing your veterans on an already relatively young defense, in a defense that has continually been neglected last year during free agency and so far this year during free agency. Head scratching to me. And here's the problem too. When you come down to it for Jacksonville, there's no superstars on this team outside of Ingram you could make an argument for. Maybe ETN continues to develop into a superstar at running back. Trevor
Allen
certainly hasn't gotten to that level yet. And you just don't have difference makers. I take that back. Josh Allen. Josh Allen was a superstar last year. But man, there's not a whole lot of there's not a whole lot of names on the Jacksonville roster right now that the other team has to game plan for.
Yep. And here's what, because I know we'll wrap up here in a minute, but here's kind of one of my final questions and whatever else y'all have too. But you think about, okay, we're like 6 weeks away from the NFL draft. So Jaguars have first round pick 17, second round pick now that they did not release Calvin Ridley at 48. But let's just focus on first round. What position do you think the Jaguars go here, or what position would you go, knowing the holes that we have right now? What position would you go with 17?
I'd go cornerback, because you're going to need a absolutely solid guy to go next to Campbell. And I think that you have 3 really good options that are going to be available that seem to fit the mold, with either Arnold, Quinion Mitchell, or who would be the third one? Kool-Aid, maybe, or some people like Nate Wiggins. I think he's a little small. Cooper DeJean is also a really athletic guy, but he's hurt right now, so I don't know if I'd go with him. but you're going to have to get an absolute star cornerback. I think that's what we have to do in the first round. And it seems like that's the way we're trending.
Yeah, I think you have to go some level of corner or safety in the first or second round. You probably also have to go pass rusher on the first or second round.
Well, not an
Personally,
edge
I would
guy.
prefer
You're
just
going
go
to want to
best
get a
available.
defensive lineman probably second round, and I'm hoping it's Sweat.
Nice.
Yeah,
Get big boy Sweat.
yeah, I'd go best available at those two positions primarily.
Corner or safety.
Corner or defensive end or defensive tackle, if that makes sense too. You need to find ways to get, like, because here's another thing is you're still not replacing, you're still not adding to your ability to rush the passer. You were a slightly below average team last year with one of the best guys rushing the passer, and Chasen was horrible, but you just lost. He's no longer on your team either. And so now you still have a huge gap there. So maybe we make a move like Clowney was last year for the Ravens. Maybe we find that more veteran guy. I don't think Chris Jones is signed with anybody, and that's obviously the dream
Chris
of
Jones is already
Jacksonville.
signed with
Oh,
the
did
Chiefs.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He got
signed with
his
the
bag.
Chiefs. Dang.
Yeah.
That wasn't gonna
You
happen.
got to find somewhere else to get more pressure, especially if you're trying to play a more aggressive style on the back end.
Yeah. See, that's what I like. I actually like the move because this corner class is really deep. But I actually like the move going defense tackle early, Byron Murphy or Jerson Newton, because we just, number one, we had no interior pass rush, which I'll talk about more in a later episode. But number two, we also could not stop a team third and short, fourth and short. I mean, we could never get off the field because you knew exactly what they were going to do and they would always get it. So, I
would
like
say
going
early
interior.
on. We were actually stuffing people on third and
Yeah.
short.
Well,
Later on, we didn't for sure.
You want Fadakasi back here?
No.
You want your boy
Wasn't saying
Devon
that.
Hamilton
I was
starting
talking
at
about
D
back when
tackle?
Blackson was starting. He actually filled up that gap not too badly.
Yeah.
But that's what I think Sweat is that gap filler that you're not going to be able to get that 1 yard because that big boy is going to be right up the middle. And I think I would.
He just needs
The
to stay in
one
shape so he can
other
play.
thing that I would do in the free agency is get a third rusher. And I'd get Uche or AJ Esparza from the Bills.
The
Go
Bills.
get another Bill guy.
Just get all the
dominated
Bills.
us in London.
Bills trash is our treasure.
Well, he was like the third rusher, and do you remember how fast he was?
He was great.
Off the
No,
edge?
if they let him,
Yeah.
if we could get him, I would love him. I agree with you on that. I feel like they'll try to find a way to re-sign him.
I mean, probably, but we seem to be really going after the Bills stuff. So, why not go grab their rusher real quick?
Why not get Stephon Diggs too?
No. I don't need that hothead.
Are we trading for T. Higgins?
Nope.
I mean, I would love that.
No, it would cost a ton.
I know.
Yeah, I mean,
I just looked at Twitter. I don't see anything happening, but obviously make sure you are following along on Twitter too. We're gonna be posting stuff there. And any kind of final thoughts, guys?
Look, I'm still relatively negative. Joey over here drinking the teal Kool-Aid after every move. I'm super skeptical. I was frustrated when we got Mac Jones. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You already have CJ Beathard, who's half the price of Mac Jones, and he was fine. And you might as well take a risk and get a 6th round quarterback like the kid from Tulane or somebody. And just see what you got. The guy
from
there.
Tulane was going before the 6th round.
Fine, but
he was the projected the top 5th quarterback.
Fine, then pick somebody else there in the 6th round.
Jordan Travis,
they just went to the combine, so obviously they didn't like anyone in like the 6th round. Mac Jones, it's a really short deal, so it's almost like a rental. You see if he's worth anything. He's better than CJ Beathard. They didn't trust CJ Beathard to throw anything farther than 5 yards and to beat anyone better than the Panthers. If we had maybe a better backup, Trevor wouldn't have had to go out there and constantly get injured. He could have taken a game or two off instead of coming back and not having any practice. And
Joey wants Mac Jones starting.
Joey's taking hot take after hot take. I don't think
he was constantly injured. He'd have 1 day of practice, and they're throwing him back out there. We obviously are
he
learning
made
from our
those
mistakes,
decisions.
but that's
If
not a
Yeah,
you
good
had
exactly.
team.
if
Mac
you had
Jones
Patrick
can actually win a
Mahomes,
game. He can actually throw the ball further than 5 yards. And it's
Not
better
much.
to get him now, learn the playbook and everything, instead of trying to sign him in week 9 when Trevor gets hurt. And it's obvious that we didn't fix the offense line that much, so it's very possible that he could get hurt. So it's better to have someone who's very average, who can actually win a game, who will know the playbook. You don't have to go sign him week 9, throw him in there in 1 week and learn it. Because CJ Beathard's not going to throw the ball further than 5 yards, who is slow as hell. Like, it's super, super good to have someone who can actually be a possibility to play for Trevor if he ever goes down. But hopefully he never goes down.
Joey, first off, if we had Patrick Mahomes as our backup quarterback, Trevor is still getting on the field as frequently because the dude's just a gamer. So he's not.
Right.
We're just because we had CJ Beathard did not go into the calculus of whether we put out an 80%
even
Trevor
Doug
Lawrence.
admitted in the offseason that it was not good to start Trevor when he had no practice. It was evident.
What was CJ Beathard's record as a starter for the Jags?
1-0, baby.
Yeah, he played
I
the
read
Panthers
it.
because
And
that's all they
shut
trusted
out.
him to beat.
Blow.
The worst team who's playing like a high school team. They obviously didn't want to win. They went for it for every fourth down. If they actually wanted to win, I bet we lose that game with CJ Beathard. It was obvious the Panthers didn't want to win. They didn't kick any field goal. They went
That
for
doesn't even make sense. They didn't have their first round pick, so it's not like it affected their drafts. They were not trying to play badly. I mean, a lot of these guys are free agents. They're trying to get paid.
Obviously, they didn't want to play badly, but they weren't trying to.
You just said you said they weren't trying to win.
They weren't trying to win. Why?
Yes,
why
they were. Of course they were.
Why would they go for it on 4th and 16 and give us the ball back right there? Like, we barely beat
because you're gonna play aggressive because the game doesn't matter.
Because you're already down by
playing
3 scores. You had to find a way.
Trying to win, like playing a normal game, kick the field goals and trying to punt it away and everything. I think
they would have had 10 points, 26.
We're over here being so nervous about our cap space, and then we're signing a $5 million guy who's already proven that he's not a quality NFL starting quarterback. Secondly, one of the best things that you see in the NFL is when you don't have tape, right? When you see these rookies or these random guys you've never even heard of come and start, and there's no tape on them, and they look decent for a game or two before things start figuring it out. So I would rather be in a situation where I'm starting either CJ Beathard again or a rookie who you just are hoping, whereas you already know what Mac Jones is, and Mac Jones he's not any faster than CJ Beathard. In fact, he may even be slower.
He's younger.
Hey, CJ Beathard had that nice 20-yard run.
Exactly. I don't know if Mac Jones even had 20 yards rushing all season.
Whatever.
All
right.
No, I mean,
I'll roll with CJ Beathard. He's not even going to be on this team anymore. So,
well, hopefully not. I mean, if you trade a 6th-round pick for a backup court, I mean, certainly the plan is
Mac Jones is a Duval
him.
guy. He was a former 1st-round pick. And you're getting him
for
6th. Like,
I don't hate it that much. I'm just messing with you.
Would you rather have him, or would you rather have the Maryland quarterback or the
Tua's brother? Give him to me.
Give me Tua's brother. 100%.
Okay.
I'd rather have somebody with potential upside. And by the way, Joey, that saves $4 million right there too. So if you're really worried about the cap space and you're trying to find money to pay Agnew, hey, go pay Agnew and go get Tua's little brother.
Can we also talk about how bad that draft class has turned out to be? That quarterback draft class of 2021, Zach Wilson. Whew, I mean, he's going to be cut. Trey Lance was just traded for, I think, a 4th or 5th round pick last year. I mean, Mac Jones, top 10, top 12 pick, was traded for a 6th round pick. Justin Fields all of a sudden looks, I mean, I don't know what the Bears are going to get for him. And then obviously Trevor Lawrence is going to be amazing. But that was supposed to be like a historic quarterback draft class. And I mean, Trevor Lawrence is going to be the only starter in year 4, which is crazy.
Yep.
Mac Jones ran a 4.91.
No way. 4.49?
4.91.
Oh.
What did CJ run?
4.90. They're basically the same.
4.90? He's faster. Give him to me, baby.
Yeah,
The
okay. Look
speedster.
at them in the pocket. Who can actually maneuver the pocket
Neither.
more?
Neither.
Neither.
It's arguing like which one of us would run the fastest 40. It's not gonna be pretty. All right. Well, unless y'all have any other thoughts.
No, it seems like I'm right now the more negative Jag fan. Joey's the more optimistic, and Jack, you see me relatively even keel.
I'm pretty in the middle. I'm kind of thinking more, which makes me sad because typically I'm more on Joey's side of like, hey, we're bouncing back, we're rebuilding, we're gonna be ready to go. I'm starting to like say at this point, we're not going to be a serious Super Bowl contender next year. So, which we'll get into later. Like, I think we need to start making moves, and not for a championship window of next season, but in 2 to 3 to 4 years. That's just kind of where I'm at. I think we're still a playoff team, borderline, but not we're not there with the Chiefs. We're not there with the Ravens.
We're not there with the Bills.
We might after getting all their old guys. They're gonna give us.
Bills are gonna be one of the worst
give us
teams
their
next year.
playbook.
They lost their entire team.
We'll see.
The Bengals might be a sleeper to come back. But yeah, that's where I'm
lost every single one of their players.
We got them all.
Well, thanks for joining us. It's been a lot of fun doing a live show. We'll see how the results and let us know if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if there's things that you could do. If you think, oh man, those are 3 handsome guys or 3 ugly guys, let us know. And thanks for joining us, and continue to follow us on all the different social media outlets that we are doing as we try